This is day 5 in a row flying at Seminole-Lake, Florida. It's March 27th, 2021. It's been a pretty good week. Today though, it is awfully blue for miles and miles around the airport and not many clouds anywhere else. I just released, well, about 1,000 feet lower, 1,300 feet I've climbed since release. Released at 1,400 feet above the ground. A little lower than I'd usually release, but pilot towed me into a thermal, and in the absence of clouds marking thermals, I'll take the one I fly into on tow rather than getting a little higher and just hoping to blunder into one. So we'll see what happens. I had hoped more clouds would form and it'd be a little easier, but you know, it's a bit early in the day still. It's almost 1:30, which is about solar noon. So there should be a few more good hours. Maybe the clouds will perk up. Just never know. Either way, it's fun to be flying. Well, conditions are good enough that I'm going to venture out on the task I called. I'll at least start a glide in that direction. I called a task for an out and return to a turn point about 62 miles away. Well, I'm about 10 miles upwind of Seminole Lake, and I was down to 2,600 feet. Only had Seminole Lake made by about 12 or 1,300 feet, so I decided to turn around and head back. And in the process of turning around, I hit this thermal. It's not great, but it's the best thing I've hit since I started that glide from 4,400 feet. So I lost almost 2,000 feet without finding anything even this good. I'm only averaging about 2 knots. But you take what you can get when you're so desperate you were just turning around. We'll see what it turns into. Well, that last thermal I was only able to take to about 3,500 feet, but that let me reach another mile or two farther from the airport than I had before. I was getting close to ready to turn around again when I found this thermal. It seems semi-decent, and clouds are starting to form a little closer to me now, so I might be able to reach that one. I'd like to climb a little higher though, so I'm sure, and there's some little wispy ones forming here and here. So it may be that the better thermals are moving in toward the airport, making it easier for me to get away from the airport. Certainly no guarantee that there are good enough conditions for the remaining 52 miles to the turn point from here, but as long as I have good confidence I can stay above 3,000 feet for the most part, which I got down to about 2,800 a few minutes ago, then I'll probably keep moving on. So I'm at 3,600 feet now. Hopefully I can gain a few hundred more, then I think I can reach these few small clouds just to my east and get over into the better looking part of the sky and then run that down toward my turn point, which is that way. So my turn point is almost straight in that direction, so I want to go over to those clouds and then run down that way. Though I see a big blue stretch between the two cloudy areas. That could be as tough to cross as getting away from the airport has been. I think I'm near the top of this one. Climb has slowed to about 1 knot. I think it's about time to leave. I'm almost 2,800 feet. I have the airport made at about 2,400 feet above the ground. Hopefully that's enough insurance altitude to reach this cloud and still make it back to the airport if I find nothing under this cloud. But let's go. Or maybe the better thermal is right here. Thermals often come in groups, and when there are no clouds, well, even with clouds, you can make this error. Oh, well, I shouldn't call it an error. You can have the unfortunate state of stopping in the weaker thermal, and the better one is a quarter of a mile away. Already up to 4,000 feet, so just popped up a couple hundred feet in a circle and a half, which is not a lot in ordinary conditions, but in these weak conditions, that's pretty good. Ooh, that cloud is showing signs of dissipating, so I better take this one as high as I can. Yeah, it's definitely dissipating. The thermal that created that cloud is most likely gone now. In the absence of a better sign, though, sometimes I will still visit such a cloud. There might be sink under it, but often enough, another thermal is about to come up in the same place. Look at that. Looks like a new one might be starting to form. Hard to say. One circle takes 20 to 30 seconds maybe. So we're getting a sort of a time lapse here. Every 20 to 30 seconds we get a peek at it. And we see what happened in the last 20 to 30 seconds. I think I'm near the top of this one though, 4,500 feet. Yeah, that one's showing some signs of life. Actually, maybe I'm just off center. I'm going to try the west side of this circle before I give up on this. So one more circle. I'm going to adjust a little to the west. That was the side where you heard the Vario happier just then. Let's see if I'm just off center. If not, I'll roll out and move to that cloud. It's not much. I'm gonna, well, yeah, I'm gonna move on. It appears to be dying, but maybe there will be a little something under here. I still have the airport made with 3,000 feet. Nothing here. starting to get into a more cloud-rich environment, even though it is just wispy stuff. That's a good sign, usually. Headed toward the remains of a wispy cloud here. It's dying. And then here's another one. Not much to it. The airport with 2,400 feet. Coming up on 13 miles out from the airport. That cloud looks the best of anything I've been heading for so far. 'Too narrow, and not to the good part of the cloud yet.
Transitioning over Melbourne airspace.
That feels pretty good. I'm going to go to the edge of the cloud, and if there's nothing better, forget that. You can't ask for much more than that. "4,000 feet, have the airport made with 2,200. So this is a comfortable position to be climbing, and the airport is downwind of me, so even if I don't climb quickly, my arrival altitude back at the airport doesn't get worse. Well, the east side of this circle is much better than the west, so maybe I should have pressed on 2 or 3 more seconds before turning, but as long as part of my circle is in that thermal, I'm pretty happy that I at least won't lose it. I'll move east 2 or 3 seconds and then roll in and see what I get. I may need to go a little farther east.
Over the 10 island, 2,000 feet heading westbound. Simulated engine out, look at below.
Let's do it again. Wow. Maybe it's just very narrow and I haven't found the center yet.
Eagle Hospital 180.
It is pretty common for high pressure day thermals to be rough. Just up and down. Oh, well, I'm averaging up, so I'll stay with it. See if I can reach this next cloud here. It looks decent. I'm at 4,500 feet. It's about the highest I've been so far. Some days you just can't get all the way to cloud base, or all the way to 500 feet below cloud base. 4,500 is as high as I've been, so I don't have a lot of hope I could get higher. So I'll just move on to another cloud. From here I have several good airports within reach. Should I completely run out of lift, I still have Seminole-Lake made with 2,300 feet, but I'm gonna consider myself to be cutting the cord from Seminole-Lake at this point. These clouds look decent for a while. As long as I can run that way for a while and stay within Gliderports, I'll do that. My turn point is basically straight ahead right now, so you can see there's a lot of blue between this little bit of clouds and clouds I couldn't even tell you, maybe 20 or 30 miles away. Blue out there, so my best option I think is run east this way and hopefully cut across. Maybe the blue gap gets narrower in that direction. I can't tell. The blue goes a long way in that direction. It's like a big blue streak. And there's restricted Class B airspace over here. Airspace I need to stay out of. So I'm not quite sure whether I can stay out of the airspace and under the clouds. Hard to tell. So I may just have to abort and go back. We'll see. If one of these clouds doesn't work, I'm at a real decision point. Can't go much farther or I'll hit the Class B. And I don't want to be foolish and press on when the day is just not good enough. Sometimes that's just the case. So I'll try one more cloud here before I turn around. Impossibly narrow. Hopefully that was just turbulence around the edge of a good real thermal. That feels more like a real thermal right there. Yeah, it's probably still going to be narrow, but at least it's not just the turbulent eddy around the edge of the thermal. It often suckers me into turning. Disney World is right out there. I'm sure the fisheye effect of this camera makes it impossible to see it. See what it is, to recognize it. Nice. Those noises are the flight computer screaming at me every time I'm pointed toward some of this Class B airspace. It's also starting to warn me about the airspace I'm under. I'm under the outer shelf of Class B. I can go up to 6,000 feet before hitting the bottom of that shelf. And when I start climbing under a shelf like that, the flight computer yells at me, hey, you're getting close to this airspace, or you're headed in the direction of that airspace. I'm at 4,600 feet, so I have 1,400 feet of clearance below it. Ooh, I like what I see in the direction of the turn point. At least one good cloud. Very nice. Averaging 6 knots in this thermal, 4,800 feet. At 6 knots, you gain 200 feet per circle, roughly, assuming a 20-second circle. So you have to be careful and not take too many circles so you don't get up into the cloud. Well, I got to 5,000 feet in that last thermal, and then zipped over to the next one and just ran right under it without circling, and got up to 5,200 under that one. And I can see from here that the line of clouds running off to the east, southeast would take me into the next shelf of Class B airspace, the floor of which is at 4,000 feet, and I need to be able to stay higher than that. So I'm gonna have to either cross this massive blue streak or give up, or just hang out here and wait and see what happens. I'm inclined to go for it. I have plenty of good airfields within reach. My airfield of choice at the moment is it's called Winter Havens Gilbert, and it is almost off the nose, and I have it made at about 3,000 feet. So it's good to have an airport that you easily have in reach in the direction you're trying to go. I've chosen this exact heading because that cloud looks like the closest one, and it's over toward the better airport. So if I do get over here and get kind of low, I have options. I may change my mind and go to that one. That one's starting to look better, and maybe it may even be closer. I think it is closer. Let's go to that one. That'll erode my glide to Winter Havens Gilbert more than if I kept flying straight toward that airport, but with 3,000 feet to spare, I can afford to lose some of that. So, for reference, I'm now 43 miles from the turn point, flying almost straight toward it. So when I get to that cloud, assuming it's still there, I'm going to look at that number again and see how far I flew, and I'm probably already 2 miles into the blue. So I'll do the math, figure out how much of a blue streak I had to cross. My wild guess, because I like to guess and see how accurate I was, is 8 miles. 8 miles of blue.
We'll
see. I'm about 7 miles into this glide and down to 3,700 feet, so I've lost 1,500 feet. 7 miles. Flying into the wind, so largely the wind's from about there. This one cloud still gives me hope. Winter Havens Gilbert is now straight off my right wing, arrival altitude 2,400 feet. And I have another airport that I'm using as my reference right now, straight off the nose, Chalet Suzanne, public grass strip. I have it made with 2,000 feet. I'm going to take this. It feels like a real thermal. 37 miles from turn point, so that's 6 miles from when I mentioned, and I was already 2, so 8 miles. How about that? I got lucky. Lucky at guessing, not lucky that the blue streak was so wide. It's good to have some idea how far it is so you can have some idea how much altitude it's going to cost you to get there. There's a good chance there's a better thermal just ahead of where I started turning, because there's no cloud over me right here. So I may move on. I've sort of mentally marked where this is. Ooh, that cloud's starting to fall apart, so I may stay here. Maybe a cloud is about to form over this spot. But look at all that blue I have to cross to get back home. I crossed it on the way out. I have to cross it again. Yuck. So I don't want to be down here too late, or it'll maybe impossible to cross and still find any decent usable lift on the other side. It's 10 minutes till 3 o'clock. Sunset is about 20 till 8 today. I was down to 3,600 feet when I found this thermal, by the way. Gained about 700 in it so far.
Yes.
Yeah, I like this one. My turn point is roughly that direction. Cloud base is a lot higher here. Well, a good bit higher. I'm at 5,500 feet and still at least 500 feet below cloud base. Well, I was able to take that last thermal to 6,100 feet. So, extra few hundred feet helps. None of these clouds ahead look great for a pretty long way. They look kind of thin, but there are a lot of them. So, maybe there'll be enough bits of lift under enough of them to get me where I need to be. I need to go 33 more miles, which means I'm not quite halfway to my turn point. But coming back, I'll have a tailwind at least, so that all else being equal should make it easier. I'm going to veer right a little to that slightly darker base. Usually a darker base means better. Then I'll turn left and run down the edge rather than venture right out into this blue, I think. At least till I get a better look out there and see what's ahead. Still headed towards Chalet Suzanne, although now I have it made with 4,700 feet, so I'll easily cruise past that. Need more air. outside air temperature at this altitude is 59 degrees Fahrenheit, but with the sun bearing down on you in this cockpit and only a little air blowing through, it gets hot. I see a little wispy here that might help me bridge this little blue streak. My turn point is 10 degrees off the nose to the left, so I think I do eventually want to be on the other side of this blue. I could run down it and cross under that cloud, but that'd be a pretty big detour. So I'm going to go ahead and jump it. There's my airport of choice at the moment. Nice paved public Lake Wales. I have it made with 4,200 feet. I'm going to veer a little right after I go under this, go to that darker base, even though it's a tad off course. By the time I get there, I might could gain 1,000 feet before hitting the top of it. And it would be nice to have that 1,000 feet. I'll detour 20 degrees for 1,000 feet. Some sort of bird is higher than me. They're better than I am. And I see another bird straight ahead. Looks like he's flying straight. He sees somebody circling. He's coming to steal our thermal. No hard feelings. I would do the same. Come on, where is this thermal? Well, looks like I'm going to have to jump at least one more blue street, because now my turn point is 25 degrees off the nose that way. But I'm going to keep running this way for a little while under these clouds. The lift is pretty broken under them, but better than if I was out in the blue, I'm sure.
3,500 over the Farmfield, northeastbound.
task-wise, maybe the most important number I look at is a big number on the screen, prominently on the map, showing me how much I am below a height from which I could glide all the way around the rest of the task to the finish point. And when I started the task, I'm flying an ultra-conservative McCready Zero because I'm a weenie and I don't have to fly aggressively today to complete this task, I don't think. In fact, it may be that flying conservatively is what wins the day. Anyway, when I started the task, it said I needed about 12,000 feet. So I was 12,000 feet below a glide slope all the way around the course without finding lift. I'm now finally a little below half of that. So I'm at 5,400 feet right now. And a rule of thumb assumption of mine is I gain about 1,000 feet per thermal. So 5.5 thermals away from finishing. Plus I want to finish at least 1,000 feet above the ground. So make that 6.5 thermals.
422, I just want to make sure our due-back time is extended to 1,600.
This feels like a pretty good one, but I'm close enough to the clouds that I'll just fly straight through it. I'm at 5,800 feet right now. I don't want to waste any time searching out these turbulent, broken thermals for just a few hundred feet. I can only hold this line for another 7 or 8 miles, more than that, 10 or 15 before I run into restricted airspace. But the clouds look really good over there, so I'm going to jump streets here pretty soon. So what I'm going for, I don't remember whether I mentioned it earlier, is the 13.5 meter class Florida State out and return distance record. The current pending record from earlier this week is about 121 miles, so I added 3 miles to it. So I'm going for 124 today. And I'm 22 miles from my turn point at the moment. Well, I got down to about 4,300 feet before finding this climb, the next decent climb. I hadn't turned in a while. Gained a few hundred feet, 400 or 500 feet in the first circle. Of course, part of that was slowing down, trading airspeed for altitude. I think I've netted maybe 300 feet in one circle. And I need just a little more than 4,000 feet to finish the task, plus 1,000 arrival altitude for safety. Kind of had to zigzag, or did anyway, whether I had to is debatable. Since I last turned off the camera, didn't fly a very straight route, jumped over to a cloud, and it wasn't on a very organized street, kept going, crossed over to this one, it's not on a very organized street, and I'm starting to get close to restricted airspace to my east, so I had to do a little left. .300 feet below final glide, 10 miles from the turn point. It looks good enough in the direction of the turn point. I don't foresee a problem making the turn point. It is 3:30 in the afternoon. I would like to be headed back home before too long. I think I have time though. It should stay okay till around 5 o'clock at least. And as long as I can get that 3,200 feet plus 1,000, It's 32 now. Before 5 o'clock, or whenever conditions get really poor and weak, it should be okay. I should still make it back. Turn point's 20 degrees left. Probably right about where that cloud is. Yes. Nice when it works out like that. Well, almost where it is. 6 degrees right. I won't bat an eye at a 10-degree deviation. Alright, let's save battery. I'll talk to you ahead, at least by the time we get to the turn point. Well, I was hoping to not have to circle again before the turn point, but here I am, 3 miles from the turn point. I was at about 3,900 feet, which is 2,200 feet lower than I was, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, I don't remember. At any rate,
Where are you?
I don't like to get that low too often. I'd rather stay within 1,000 to 1,500 feet of the clouds, or the tops of climbs, whatever they are. This is not a great climb, but flew through a good bit of sink getting here, and it looks kind of disorganized beyond it, so I'm going to take this one for at least a few circles.
Hey, you're, how nice. Got it. You got target? Target.
I may not take this one all the way up though, since it's a little weaker than others, and I do see a cloud or two that looks good enough toward the turn point. I may just get a little more into my comfort zone here and then move on and try to do the rest of the climbing in a better thermal. In fact, I think I'll go ahead and make that decision now. Gained almost 1,000 feet in this one. At this point, even if I did hit a really nice thermal, I might not even circle. I just press on, tag the turn point, come straight back, because I'm right on the course line. It costs me nothing to turn around and come back to it. The only gamble is, will it still be here when I get back to it? And since I'm only 1.5 miles from the turn point, even if I hit a great thermal right now, it would only be 3 minutes to get back to it.
I'll be in radiation down the ground in order to no traffic.
I think the turn point is going to be just out from under this cloud into the blue. No big deal. Jump out in the blue, tag the turn point, come back to the cloud. There's a Sebring airport right there. Oh, I may not even have to leave this cloud. About 4/10 of a mile. Yeah, I'll probably pop out from under it a little. 4/10 of a mile from the turn point. And I'll set up to make a right turn through the turn point. Cardinal sin is turning too early, but I'm turning a little, just right under my right wing. Don't turn too soon. There we go. Got it right there. And back to the cloud. Well, I'm almost 20 miles into the return leg. Haven't circled yet on this leg. And my final glide arrival altitude has improved 2,400 feet. So now I just barely have it made if I want to arrive, you know, skimming the ground, which I don't. So I want at least another 1,000 feet to arrive safely. And I'm making a pretty hard detour right now, a 40-degree detour, because over there where the finish is, it's just a big lot of blue. And I stumbled upon this cross to the wind path of clouds bridging that blue. So maybe I can cut across on these clouds without losing too much altitude. A large blue crossing was in my future if I didn't do this. So I think there's enough daylight left, and clouds look good enough over here that this is not a particularly risky move as far as jeopardizing the task. It's just a little insurance that I'll get home. This is not a speed task, and I have no other mission in mind after this, so it's okay if it takes a while. I'm circling under the first cloud on the street. I've crossed that gap. I stopped in one of the clouds across the gap and circled a little there. It wasn't a great thermal. But now I have an arrival altitude of 1,300 feet above the ground. So all looks good from here, 36 miles to go. Unless I find a lot of sink, it should be easy to get in, finish the task, and arrive high enough for a safe landing approach.
Let's head upwind.
Well, I'm 24 miles from Seminole Lake. I've been circling in a weak thermal. I now am predicted to arrive 3,100 feet above the ground there, but it's looking considerably poorer in that direction, maybe all the way there. So I'm just going to get as high as I can and tiptoe into that area. I'd like to be on another hour or a little more. Flight computer says if I just went for it right now, it would only take me 8 minutes to get there. So I'm circling just to buy myself some time. Look at all these lakes. That's roughly Seminole Lake, that direction. Not much going on out there.
I got 8 uniform off my left wing, is off my right, but I don't know where you are.
And that's roughly the direction I came from. So it looks considerably better to the south than to the north. That would be consistent with how it was on the way outbound this morning, so maybe it just never did get good up here on the north end of the task. I'll talk to you again in a few minutes. Well, I'm only about 14 miles from Seminole Lake now, right over there. A lot of blue there. There's one line of clouds going through the blue, but I think I'm going to go over this way and see if I can get around the blue hole on that side. But right now I'm about 100 feet higher than the floor of the Class B area, just a mile or two to my right. So I'm going to cruise outside of it in the blue here until I get below that floor, so I'm legal. And I'll scoot under it. Make sure I stay below 6,000 feet while I'm under it. to my left. Well, I think it was a good call to not go straight toward Seminole Lake. It looked pretty poor out there as I passed by. And I'm choosing to press on to the north to add on a few miles without having crossed the finish line yet. So, until I cross the finish line, I haven't completed the task, of course. But I have Seminole made with 4,500 feet right now, so I have some altitude to play with to head north a few miles. And I'd like to land a little less than an hour from now. So at some point that'll come into play, and I'll have to quit playing around with thermals and just head back. It's about 10 till 5. I'm headed northwest at the moment, pretty close to turning around and heading in. It's about 30 minutes from when I'd like to touch down. It would take me about 20 minutes to fly back from here, so that gives me 10 minutes. Here comes a bird right over the top of us. Or I'm coming up on him, that's what it is. I'm coming up under him. So 20 minutes to get back, 10 minutes to maneuver for a task finish and fly the pattern and land, so it's probably about time to turn around. I have the airport made with 2,700 feet from here, so no stress in that regard. So I think I will go ahead and turn around. And I might as well fly straight in. I don't need any more lift. No more playing around with thermals. It's a 19-mile glide from here. I'll talk to you in a little bit. Well, I'm about 8 miles north of Seminole Lake, headed in. You know where to look. See it right there. We're looking straight down the runway. Computer says I will arrive 3,400 feet above the ground in about 8 minutes, which is 10 minutes before I want to touch down, so that gives me time to maneuver, finish the task, get in the pattern and land right about on time. So not much to see from here till I'm ready to tag the finish line, so I'll get back to you in a few minutes. Well, I'm less than a mile from the task finish line, which is the airport. I believe the rule is you have to cross the finish line in the proper direction, which is from the direction of the previous task point. So I'm setting up to do a big 180 to the right and cross it from the other direction, as if I had just come in from the out and return task. So I'll cross it from southeast to northwest. And get the flight computer to make a
traffic glider 1 kilo.
Happy sound.
6 miles to the north, landing Seminole, will be landing south.
Make sure I'm on the right side of it. And here we go. There we go. Task finished. And look at that, a thermal. Oh well, I need to be on the ground, want to be on the ground in 10 minutes. So I will leave it be. I'll get back to you in a few minutes. Well, it's 4 minutes till I want to touch down. I'm being funny about it just because I told my wife it'd be a good time to land 2 hours before sunset, and she made some crack about how that's awfully specific. So it'd be fun to land almost right on the number. Probably not going to. I slowed down a little bit. Someone else was coming in to land, so I delayed losing altitude. I'm still a little more than 2,000 feet above the field, so I may not try to hurry and get down that fast, but it'll be close. Have air brakes out right now, descending at, about 8 to 10 knots. And they're only out an inch or two. Wow. So I'll go ahead and set landing flaps, go through my checklist. Put the gear down. Down and locked. Seminole traffic, glider Quebec Victor entering along downwind for 18 Seminole. I don't see the other glider that was ahead of me. Where is he? I'll be landing soon. One kilo, are you still in the pattern?
1 kilo is on the ground.
Thank you. Good, he's on the ground, so I'm clear.